Obviously, people are watching the whole debate over the fiscal cliff as we speak. The president, Harry Reid, Mitch McConnell, John Boehner will be getting together at the White House. No one really has a sense of, to be honest with you, what is going to happen. But I think at the heart of this issue is not just a financial debate, but a major political debate. And that is, in my view, Tom, it just seems very, very clear to me that right-wing extremist Republicans are in charge of the House of Representatives, and their views are way, way, way out of touch with what the vast majority of the American people believe. Yet they control one of the branches of government, and the choice, therefore, that we face, that the president faces and those of us in the Senate face, is do you compromise significantly with people who are way out of touch with the American people, or do you make it very clear what they are trying to do and demand that the American people get actively involved in this debate to force the Republicans in the House to start listening to what the American people want? Let me just give you a few examples. A poll came out recently, very consistent with every other poll that I have seen. This is Washington Post, ABC, last week. 72% of the American people said, yes, people making $250,000 a year or more should pay more in taxes. That's what the American people believe, because they understand that the wealthiest folks in this country are doing phenomenally well, and yet their effective tax rate, remember Mitt Romney not releasing his tax returns for that reason, their effective tax rates are very, very low. 1 out of 4 major profitable corporations not paying a nickel in federal income tax. So the American people are very clear about that. Our Republican friends in the House are saying, no, we don't care if somebody is worth $100 million, $1 billion. We do not want them to pay a nickel more in taxes. What we right-wing Republicans want is to move to a deficit reduction on the backs of the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor. What they want to do is cut Social Security, although Social Security has nothing to do with the deficit. They want to cut Medicare or raise the retirement age, the eligibility age to 67, make devastating cuts in Medicaid, cut back on education. That's where they are at. And the American people, in that very same poll, 60%, including many, many Republicans, said, do not cut Social Security, don't cut Medicare, don't cut Medicaid. So we have this really strange moment where a branch of government is controlled by folks who are way out of touch with the American people. And I think the president has got to be very, very strong on this. And I think if he is, if Democrats remain strong, we can win that issue. Second issue, when we talk about the economy, it is not just the deficit. Deficit is an important issue. I worry very much that the media gets bored very quickly, changes subjects very quickly. They are forgetting that 23 million Americans are unemployed or underemployed. We remain in a severe, severe recession. For many workers who are employed, their wages are going down. People are working longer hours for low wages. Their kids are leaving college deeply in debt or can't afford to go to college. Their homes are underwater. So the working class of this country is, in fact, being decimated. Middle class is disappearing. You can't forget about that. Yes, we have to pay attention to deficit reduction, but you cannot ignore the reality that we need to create millions and millions of decent paying jobs by rebuilding our infrastructure and transforming our energy system. Other issue, obviously, that's out there. Everybody's heart was broken. Could not believe what happened a couple of weeks ago in Newtown, Connecticut. It is just a nightmare. It's a parent's worst fear. And it's an issue that we have to deal with. We have seen too much of this mass violence, mass killings. But it is, and I support and I voted for a ban on assault weapons. That's not the issue. That's part of the issue. But we got to go beyond that. We have to understand that today there are millions and millions of Americans who already own these Bushmasters, these AK-15 weapons. We have got to deal with the issue of mental health. I can tell you, Tom, that in the state of Vermont, I get many calls from parents or siblings who are saying, you know what, there is somebody in my family. I'm really worried about him. I'm worried about her. I'm worried about what he or she might do to himself or do to other people. And yet I cannot find the mental health counseling that we need. So that's a very serious issue. And the third part of this thing is we are just a country where the media, where these video games are just, just perpetrating gratuitous violence for our kids, which is just not acceptable. And I think the media is going to have to take some responsibility for that as well. Now, some of the other issues we're dealing with are, I just came from a meeting dealing with filibuster reform. I think many Americans understand that one of the reasons that very little is being accomplished in the Senate is the Republicans time after time after time are demanding 60 votes and killing legislation, not debating it, not having an up or down vote, but just filibustering it to death without having to even get on the floor and speak. So we are working hard to try to bring about a situation where on January 3rd, when the new Senate is sworn in, that we can at that moment, with 51 votes, change the rules, make sure the minority has all the protection they need to express their point of view. But we cannot allow a minority to run the United States government. A majority is supposed to rule in a democracy. That doesn't exist right now. Two other issues that I want to briefly touch on. One is, again, the issue of media consolidation. We've talked about it a whole lot. I want people to understand that right now the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, is looking at very bad rules which will allow within the largest 20 markets, media markets in this country, one company to own 2 television stations, 8 radio stations, and the largest newspaper in that area. I think that is a dangerous trend for democracy. It ends the diversity of opinion that we need. We have too much media consolidation now. That would make a bad situation worse. Last point that I want to make. I will be, in January, the new chairman of the Senate Veterans Committee. And the VA is a huge institution. It's a $140 billion a year budget. We have some 8 million veterans enrolled in the healthcare system alone. Millions of others are getting various types of benefits. And I would love to hear from folks out there who are veterans, who have thoughts about how we can improve the VA, how we make it more responsive to veterans, how we improve what is a pretty good healthcare system now. But how do we make it better? So I'd love to hear from veterans on that issue.